Craig, you've done an incredible job raising awareness about waste and sustainability with all of that work that you've been doing on the war on waste. So tell us how you were inspired to start that and focus on environmental issues.
Well, look, I've always been interested in environmental issues. Probably my personal life mostly directed by climate stuff and trying to improve my carbon footprint and looking at the changes in that way. I just wouldn't have thought of myself as being a spokesperson for it, but through doing the war on waste, that's slowly happened, and it's been a fascinating journey. I love it. I mean, it's a fascinating area, and it's such an important area. I mean, I guess particularly on climate, there's this huge inequality between the people who are creating the problem, the people that are, suffering the effects. So it's been great to, for instance, go to Fiji and see the people who are moving villages and doing that kind of stuff. So it is an extraordinary area. And the great thing about it as well is that what I like about it is there are solutions and there are ways we can get to the next step. And it's a question of how do we get there? I'm not the scientist. I'm more about the kind of social, the political, the economic. How do we actually do this and get to the next step?
Yeah, that's great. And so at the conference, we're going to have you speaking on how procurement professionals are really at the heart of all those sustainability changes. So, what is it that you think is your view on why they really are the perfect people to drive this change?
Well, because when it comes to, for instance, recycling and creating new products, we're really good at kind of picking it up from the curbside and putting it in, picking it up ourselves and collecting it. We're good at that. We can be good at times at coming up with solutions for those recycled products or to new recycled products. There's always articles about we can turn to this or that. Where we constantly fall down is actually creating a market for it, is actually purchasing the end product. And that's where we really need to get to if we're going to have a proper circular economy. And obviously, procurement's a big part of that because procurement is controlled by a lot of people who have a big purchasing budget. So if we can actually make it so that those recycled products end up being made into good products that can be purchased by companies and be part of the procurement debate, then it's a huge part of the solution.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing you're going to give a few sort of practical tips on, actionable things. Can you give us a hint of any of those practical day-to-day changes that procurement professionals can implement with more sustainable practices?
Look, I think the first one is just actually asking the question, is there a sustainable or recycled alternative as your first question? Because often you just go back to the route you've always gone, and that's the easiest approach, obviously. So asking that question is the first part of it. I think the second part of it is then setting targets so that you keep pushing further. And I think the third part that's really important is figuring out the barriers. Why is it that we didn't choose these sustainable or recyclable options? And that happens a lot. It can be because there are rules there that need to be changed. So actually going through the process of changing the rules is really important. Or even feeding back to the people that are making it and saying, hey, the reason, look, we love what you're doing. It's great you're trying to get this new product out there. The reason we can't buy it is this. This is the thing you've got to try and change. So, like that dialogue is really important as well. It's not going to always be the case that the recycled product is perfect first off, but can you help people actually develop it as well?
Yeah, that's cool. And so I guess, well, inside the business, a procurement professional can sometimes get a bit of pushback from various stakeholders. Have you got any tips on how we can get buy-in from the people that we need, our decision makers and that sort of thing?
I'm surprised it should be the other way, to be honest, because you see a lot of companies setting these targets and they've got these broad statements about sustainability and they set these great targets and that comes from the board level or otherwise. They're the ones that should be getting in contact with the procurement people because if you don't get the procurement people on board, they're never going to hit those targets. Like that's a crucial part of it. So in actual fact, it's about those people coming and going, hey, we're really serious about these targets. So that means we're going to trust you to go out and make changes. And we're going to also trust you that there's a bit of risk in doing that initially. It may not be the easiest thing. So yeah, that dialogue between the people setting the targets in the company and then the people who are actually going out there and making the purchases is incredibly important.
Yeah. So what would you say to anyone who might be going to miss the conference? They're sitting on the fence. They haven't decided if they're going to come. What's your encouragement to come along?
I'm going to be giving out lollies, but of course, to make it more sustainable, I won't have them in packets or packaging and that. So they'll just be in my pockets, and I'm sure OH&S will be really okay with that. It'll be fine. Don't worry.
That's great. Well, thank you. We look forward to seeing you, Craig.
Look forward to seeing you there.